Good morning. Welcome back. I hope that everyone had a wonderful, relaxing weekend. I know I did. We're going to continue talking about our ServSafe material this week and in the coming weeks. One of your vocabulary words on Friday was the flow of food. And what is the flow of food? So it's the path food takes through an operation. And so I often say, well, we've got to actually get the food in our facility so that we can actually start cooking. So I'm going to reference, as I talk about this today, a lot of this is going to be in the commercial setting, but I'm going to relate it to what you may do at home. You do a lot of these things at home. You do a lot of these things when you go to the grocery store. You might not just consider it to be purchasing and receiving. You don't use that same terminology. So this is all ServSafe, commercial kitchen is what we're looking at here. But we've got to start by purchasing our ingredients and receiving those, getting those to our establishment. Now, we go to the grocery store and we buy our materials. In restaurants and in large-scale facilities, they're not grocery shopping for themselves. They're having those trucks delivered to them. So that is by they are being received. They are received off of the truck. So when we do this, there are some things that we want to consider. I would really encourage you to get out a piece of paper. If you want to fold that paper into 8 boxes, there's going to be 8 different considerations that we consider here. But here is box number 1. You only really need to write what is in the bold. Don't feel like you've got to write it all. But we only want to buy from suppliers who get their products from approved sources. By that, we mean that they are in compliance with the local, state, and federal law. Now, the sources can prove that they are approved by checking for stamps. Okay, somewhere on that packaging, there is a USDA or FDA stamp of approval on those foods. So, if a company wants to use U.S. foods, then they are required to look into U.S. Foods. Is U.S. Foods a reputable supplier? Are they an approved source? Now, let me put this in our perspective. Publix, Kroger, Sam's, Costco, Walmart, Target, all of those are considered to be approved sources. What is not approved is that little street vendor saying, hey, watermelons are sold here. Unfortunately, a restaurant can't bring in produce just from a produce stand off the side of the street. If you want to as a consumer, you may absolutely do so. But when you're catering to the public, we do not want to do that. All right, box number 2, make sure that your suppliers are reputable. Make sure they have a good reputation. That's what I mean by reputable. They are known for good customer service. They are known for providing you with quality ingredients. You don't have to double back and check them all the time because you know that they are going to provide you with the best of the best. Okay. Ask for a company's reputation from other buyers. Oftentimes you may say, hey, have you used this company before? Are they good? Do you like them? It's important to ask around to make sure that company is known for good things. And there may be a scenario here and there where things aren't perfect, but on the whole, this company needs to have a good reputation. And did they correct the mistake well? If they did, then they have a good reputation. Consideration number 3, schedule deliveries for off-peak hours and receive only 1 delivery at a time. Okay. I used to work at Jim and Nick's. I completed some time there, and they didn't open until lunchtime. Okay, they were a lunch and dinner facility, and so when I showed up between 6:45 and 7 o'clock in the morning, that's when they were getting their truck. They want a truck at 6:30, 6:45. Because no one's there. No one's dining yet. They're not, their attention is not split. Now, if that same truck was to come at 12 o'clock, not only are they trying to make customers happy, but they're also trying to make sure that the kitchen is running smoothly. And then suddenly someone's got to stop to go and get the ingredients off the truck. You're asking for accidents to happen. You're asking for food to not be considered safe anymore, okay? Because you're too busy focusing on your customers that food may sit out for a longer period of time in the temperature danger zone, and we don't want that, okay? So when we schedule deliveries for off-peak hours, it means we've got the time and attention to designate to receiving those ingredients, okay? This is a crucial time for you to inspect the food. This is just like when you go into the grocery store, you're looking on the shelf and you're like, okay, well, this can is dented in the front. Well, I'm not gonna accept that. Same thing, if they deliver a dented can to you, you want to take the time to be able to inspect all of those ingredients that they are providing. So this is crucial time because why do you want to pay for anything that is not to the standards that you are willing to accept? Accepting 2 deliveries at a time could lead to making mistakes. So again, that's why we say only 1 delivery at a time. US Foods come here, Dade Paper comes later, our produce guy comes even later. That way, no mistakes are going to happen. Time is of the essence. Don't let it escape you. We said in the temperature danger zone, we don't want food sitting out for an extended period of time. And so time is a ticking, even when we are receiving foods. We've got up to 4 hours, and if we knock off an hour here, well, then we only have 3 hours later. This is a part of the flow of food, so time is everything. Box number 4, make sure there is enough trained staff available to promptly receive and inspect and store the food. There is usually 1 to 2 people that are responsible for actually receiving the food. They know the guidelines, they know what they're looking for. They're the ones that stop and receive that truck. They have to be knowledgeable. They have to be the ones that they've got to know what they're looking for. They know the entire quality of the restaurant. They say, this is what we need, this is what we're accepting, and this is what we're not. Now, they need to be aware that they can reject things. Just like when you go into the grocery store, you have the option to say, I want this, but I don't want that. I want this apple, but I don't want that apple. I want this package of meat, but I don't want that package of meat. What makes you ask those questions? What makes you say that? What makes you say, I want this, but I don't want that? A restaurant has that same opportunity. They have to say, this doesn't meet my standards of quality. I'm not buying this. And it's important that they send that back. They say, I am not accepting this. Box number 5, inspecting deliveries carefully. So what are you looking for? I've said that we need to inspect them carefully, but what are we looking for? Things like, is it labeled properly? Everything that comes into your establishment must be labeled. Is it at the right temperature? Are my cold foods cold? Are my hot foods hot? Appearance. Does it look in good condition? Is it moldy? Does it have signs of being old? Is the meat kind of a gray color, or is it nice and white, or is it nice and pink, depending on what it is that you're buying? Expiration date. Make sure that the product isn't expired. You know, we always check our canned food items. If you're going in the grocery store, you check to make sure, okay, this is not expired. You do the same thing in a restaurant. You're also checking for intact packaging, signs of prior freezing, or signs of freezing. That means if there's a lot of ice crystals on your product, it means it may have thawed out and refrozen. We don't want that. That shows time and temperature abuse. It means that something sat out, it got warm, and then it was refrozen. That is not a positive sign. Prior wetness, guys, that prior wetness could be as innocent as water, but it could also be as harmful as chicken juices. It could be a cleaning chemical of some sort. If it shows any signs of prior wetness, you want to get rid of it. In any pest infestation, holes, nibbles, pest packaging that has been opened that allows pests to get in, as soon as you say, oh, I'll take it anyway, it's just a small hole. When you take that in, you're almost inviting pests in. You're giving them the opportunity to say, come and live in our kitchen. Okay, so if it's got any signs of that, even if it doesn't look like it's fresh, You want a fresh whole, you want to get rid of it. Rejecting shipments, again, no need to write this down right now, but you can refuse shipments. Okay, you can say this does not meet my standards of quality and say I'm sending this back. However, you want to make sure you do two things. You want to set the item aside, make sure that it does not end up in the stuff that you are accepting. Label it, say this is not being taken. Get a sign, tell the delivery person what was wrong. Get a signed adjustment or a credit slip. You're not paying for that. Make sure that you do not get charged for that. And then log the incident. You want to make sure on such and such day, U.S. Foods delivered such and such item. It was damaged. I sent it back. Make sure you log that incident. All right, receiving consideration number 6. You want to use a properly calibrated thermometer. By properly calibrated, I mean it's functioning properly. Okay, it's reading at the right temperature. We know it's accurate. Calibrated means it's accurate. Because we want our cold foods cold and we want our hot foods hot. Okay, so just in terms of general, where do we check the temperature? Just some general guidelines here. Meat, poultry, and fish, insert it into the thickest part. Reduced oxygen packaging, that's like your bacon or your ham, your packaged goods, the vacuum sealed. You don't want to open those to check the temperature. So instead you want to stick a thermometer in between. In other packaged food, you may open it and actually stick the thermometer probe in. I'll show you some pictures of that. This is chicken. They're using the thermometer. The probe is going into the thickest part of the chicken to check to make sure that the chicken is being received at the right temperature, 41 or below. This is your bacon packaging. Again, we don't want to open that ROP or that vacuum sealed packaging, letting the oxygen in. We don't want to do that. So instead, you put the thermometer in between the two packages to read the temperature. And then the last one, you may have some packages where you may just open one and quickly check the temperature of that. Okay. Inspect deliveries immediately and put them away. Don't delay that time frame because the clock is ticking. Again, we've got 4 safe hours for food to remain in the temperature danger zone, and this is where that time period starts. Okay. So we do not want to delay. We want to put everything away. If it's meant to be cold or frozen, it needs to go to that freezer or that refrigerator quickly. It's why many times in a restaurant, wherever the receiving truck pulls up, the refrigerators and the freezers are right there. You shouldn't have to walk across the kitchen to put items away. Okay, so again, looking at the right temperatures, what is the correct? Well, cold foods, cold TCS, those time and temperature control for safety foods, need to be at least 41 degrees or below. Hot TCS foods. Now, you may be thinking, well, why would a truck be delivering hot foods? In the case of a restaurant, restaurants aren't typically going to receive hot foods. But when you are receiving hot foods, a scenario may better be applied to a catering. Okay, so for example, you've decided that you're having Moe's cater your graduation party. And so Moe's shows up to your house with all of this hot food. They've got hot beans, hot rice, hot chicken, all of this hot food for you to serve your guests. It's there when you are receiving that hot food that it needs to be super hot. It needs to be out of the temperature danger zone at 100